Hello, and welcome to What's Your Story? We have a very interesting guest this hour. You're going to have a good time with us. I know because I'm already having a good time with him. His name is Jason Pransky, and Jason is an artist and much, much more. So we're going to find out what all he does right now. Welcome, Jason.
Well, thank you for having me today, Judy. Appreciate it.
I'm really, really glad to have you. Now, you haven't been in Vegas all that long, have you?
No, I've only been here about a year and a half.
Ah, and where were you before?
Before that, I was in California, and before that, New Jersey, and then Montana. That's where I was raised.
Oh, you were raised in Montana,
Oh, heck
cowboy
yeah.
town, huh? Yeah, yeah. So you're an artist, but I've seen your work and you have incredible work
Thank you.
and you gift portraits to
Yeah.
people. Now, how did you get into gifting portraits
Okay,
to
so
people?
let's take it back to when I was in college. I was going to Santa Monica City College, and I was I don't know, I was probably about 18 years old, and Drew Barrymore had just come out and saying she was out of rehab and she liked Marilyn Monroe, and I thought, wow, that'd be kind of a cool piece to do, and I did a piece of it, of her and Marilyn Monroe, kind of Marilyn praying like that, and said if I ever met her, I'd give it to her. Well, as luck would have it, my cousin Joria had a cake business, and she asked me to run these cakes up to the living room, which was in Hollywood on La Brea. I thought, okay, I was all the way down Marina Del Rey. Now, if you're familiar, that's like trying to get across Vegas.
Right, yeah.
So I ran them up there, and this girl was there, and I hear the guy say Drew, and I look at her. I'm like, gosh, she looks really familiar. And she comes out from behind. I'm like, what's your name? She goes, Drew. I go, what's your last name? She goes, Barrymore. I go, I have something for you. She goes, buddy, I don't even know you. I go, it's not like that. I said, I'm an artist. I said, I did a picture of you and Marilyn Monroe. And she goes, oh my God, I love Marilyn Monroe. I go, I know, I read the article. I said, but if you want it, I'll give it to you. I said, when do you work next? She goes, well, I'm here this weekend. I said, I'll run it up to you. So that weekend I came up and I walk in, and this thing's quite, my pieces are pretty big. And I hand it to her, and she just sat there like transfixed, like waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
And I was like, thanks for the A in art class, and just walked around and turned around and left. Never went back again.
I never heard from her again?
No, well, this is before cell phones.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, unless you wanted to rotary dial me, But no, in my
well, I've seen the picture.
Yeah.
And it's incredible.
Thank you.
And did she think it was incredible?
Oh, she was like transfixed. She was like this is for me. And again, waiting for something, what do you want from me? And I didn't want anything. I was like, I already got my A, so I said, here you go.
Oh, so you entered it in art class. You
Yeah,
turned it
I got
in
an
as
A
an
for it.
assignment. Oh, that's amazing.
And it's so from there I was like, wow, I really like that feeling. And so whenever I'd come across people, if they needed a portrait done or something, I'd say, oh, I'll just do it for you. But then, like, for me, I've always been a sensitive and intuitive kind of kid. And so when I was younger, it used to freak me out because I would feel things from people. And so that kind of rolled into when I came into contact people that had loss, like maybe lost a person in their family, or just was at a bad point in their life and needed something to pick them up. I would feel that and say, well, ask the right questions to get what had actually happened, and then make something for them and surprise them with it. And it was so rewarding. And when I was on the East Coast, I worked for Capital Grill, and my boss, her name was Diane Lagler, and I worked also with a gentleman named Steve Soprano, who was the assistant manager. And at first they were like, Pransky, are you playing with a full deck? I said, I am. And once they saw the reaction, I remember I did it for my boss, Diane. And I actually hijacked one of her meetings for the group and actually surprised her so she could feel it first. And then she came back the next day and she says, what's our next mission? I was like, so she kind of started doing it with me as far as, surprising people. And it's just, I like to do it.
Yeah.
And since I've been in Vegas, I've actually done one for my coworker. His name's Josh Montecalvo. I love this guy. His wife, Bess, is actually if I remember right, vice president for Hilton Resorts.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And I just recently did one of their picture for their anniversary, and he got to surprise her with it. And it had their wedding picture with their music for Songbird.
Oh.
And once she saw it, because she plays piano, she's like, that's our song. And she was just blown out of her chair. She's like, thank you so much. I'm like, of course.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so
that's amazing.
That's kind of where I've been with it now.
But you're still working for Capital Grill, aren't you?
No. I left Capital Grill's employment back in about 2017.
Okay, but you do work in a restaurant.
I do. I work for Ocean Prime Las Vegas.
That's right.
It's on the Strip. My general manager's name is Brian Graham. He's amazing, amazing. I mean, he's like God. He's like JP, go with it. So
yeah.
he lets me kind of, when I had shown him a video of what I was doing, he's like, okay, are you gonna do it here? I was like, if you let me. He goes, sure, why not? So I do enjoy. I work there 5 days a week. I work there Wednesday through Sundays. And I just enjoy serving up smiles. And, I thought on a world stage like Las Vegas, it would expand, people I come into contact with, because people from around the world come. And I just, want to give the gift of, of making people happy. That's really all it comes down to.
So you sing like some other people, right?
Say what?
You sing, but
Yeah, I can sing.
Do you sing in the restaurant?
For special occasions, like, okay, do you want to hear a funny story?
Yeah.
So I remember it was Valentine's Day, and one of our servers had to go home, and it was me and another server out on the patio, and it's 24 tables out there. And when you're doing fine dining, 4 or 5 is good, but there was 24 tables. So I had to buy time for us because the bar got completely, it was like a tidal wave. So there was a couple that had been married for 40 years, and I said, well, what's your wedding song? And they said, The Way You Look Tonight. I said, would you allow me? And I know my coworker's like, don't screw it up, Pransky. And I was like, just literally like, someday when I'm awfully low and the world is gold, I will feel a glow just thinking of you and the way you look tonight. Of course, now the people behind them were like, well, what do we get? And so I was like, fly me to the moon, let me play. So I finished that one out. Then I had 6 ladies from California that were all together, and they said, all right, Jack Jones. I said, you said Jack Jones? They said, we sure did. I said, he's a legend. I'm gonna. She goes, you better. I go, love, exciting and new, set a course, it'll come back to you. I had that whole patio singing The Love Boat.
That's amazing.
That was a lot of fun.
Amazing, but it's got to be a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. I started in the restaurant business when I was 15. I went to California because my mom had come up for my graduation and saw what my artwork was. And she goes, I didn't know you could draw like this. She goes, you need to be in California, in school doing this. And she had taken one of my pieces to, I think it was like a gallery or a framer that she had done business with. And he's like, Jason's in the top percentile. He can draw. He just doesn't know what he wants to draw.
Yeah.
And then when I went to college, Mr. Maurizio Bertucci was my art teacher, and he was like, he's got the talent. He just has to decide what he wants to draw. So now I do the portraits, and then I have other work that I do, because now after 53 years, I have something to say.
Yeah, I would think
at 18,
so.
I just kind of copied things that were around me. Now I actually have something to say.
Right. Now, do you know what you want to draw?
Yes. So I did a recent one. It's called False Gods. And it is kind of like the things that we turn to besides turning one first to ourselves. And if you answer to a higher power, that too. So it's actually got like lust and greed and gambling and liquor and pride. I didn't send you a picture of it because I didn't know if it was appropriate because it's a little racy. But my next thing will be, I want to do is the fallen heroes. So basically it'll be like what do you call it? It'll be an outline of samurai or modern day soldiers, but inside the people that fight daily against drug addiction or homeless and be able to express their story. And it'll all be based on pictures that I go and take of people and then put them into a collage inside that silhouette. And then hopefully make a series of it to where, when I go to sell it, I'll be able to donate money to them as far as, be able to, whether, to a drug addiction program or to people, an outreach program for homeless people. That's what I'd love to do. That's kind of like what my higher calling is to take my art and be able to help people with it. So that's kind of where I'm at now with it.
Your art is very unique.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it is. It's very unique. It's incredibly beautiful.
Thank you.
And what I've seen of your art, it tells a story. Do you intend to tell stories when you're
pretty much
doing
yeah
that?
So a lot of the time I'll think about things that I see. I'm a December baby, so I'm a Capricorn. So Capricorns, everyone I've ever come into contact with, I always ask them, are you a champion of justice? And they're like, yes. So when we see injustice, it boils our blood. I said, do you treat everyone fairly? They go, of course. Everybody is just the way, all we see is hearts with arms and legs. And I said, yeah. And I said, so when I look at something like I did one piece where it was innocence, and
Mhm.
it has Wayne's World in it, it has Casper, it has a car in it, but it's basically because the whole idea is that if you watched Wayne's World, and I remember you had the two characters, you had Garth and you had Wayne, and Garth was kind of like the kind of off. I really related more to Garth because I was that kid. I was kind of the geeky kid, and then you had Wayne who was like super cool because he got to be with Cassandra. But then there's also Casper and the other ghosts that he was with. So
Mhm.
we kind of leave that childhood behind as we get older. And then we get influenced by cars, watches, vices,
Right.
whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And I said, but it's the loss of innocence. So I actually have that on my Facebook page.
Wow. Wow. Now, how does empathy figure into all this?
Okay, so my family on my mom's side is very intuitive and very in touch. Like we had a cousin Judy that would definitely could feel like the departed if they came into the house, or she could tell you who was going to call on the phone, and she never misses a beat with it. She could tell you that's who that is, and that's who that is. And this is before cell phones. This is before even caller ID.
Yeah.
It would be I'm talking about the rotary dial or
Right.
the push button from GE. And people would kind of be like, "No, Judy, no, no, come on, be honest with it." So basically, for me, when I was a kid, I had a chest operation, pretty intense one. I was 4.5, and I remember waking up, so to speak, but I was looking down on
Mhm.
me. So that was the first sign of it, and I remember that day like it was yesterday, and that day was almost 50 years ago. So then when I was 12, I got hit in the head by a cast iron pole because I did a rookie mistake. And you being from Texas are going to understand this. I put the grain bucket down when I was grooming the horse, and he kicked it and he pulled it out, and I wound up in the hospital.
Wow.
Well, after that, I lost my sense of smell. But then I got this great memory. And then it kind of started where I started feeling people. And what that means is that I'm a pretty jovial person. So when I get around somebody that has had loss or something's going on, I get a feeling of that I have to cry. And it's almost like a divining rod. It kind of brings me right over to them. And when I was younger, like especially I was 12 years old when that happened with the head injury, I just literally was like, what is this? This is like two Twilight Zone looking for Rod Sterling smoking the cigarette kind of thing. But then I realized what it was. And I'll give you a good example. I was living in New Jersey, and I was really into Harley Davidsons. And I had befriended a gentleman there named Pat Morris, real nice kid, had a pretty hard life. And it was around Christmas, and I woke up, and it must have been about 7 o'clock in the morning, and something told me go downstairs, and I had all my albums there. And I said, pick out the Journey thing, the Journey Escape album.
Yes.
And I was like, okay. And I was like, now, and I could tell that I was supposed to go over to the dealership. I mean, it's like more of a compulsion than it is Charlton Heston has the word of God, kind of thing. So I go walking in there, and it's December 23rd, and I see Pat, and it looks like he's just got his shoulders slumped and everything. And I've got the album tucked underneath, and I'm like, hey, Pat, how you doing? He goes, it's not a good day today, Jay. I go, yeah. I go, what's the matter? He goes, I don't really want to talk about it. And I go, I think I'm supposed to give this to you. He froze as if he'd seen a ghost. He's like, Jay, what are you doing here with that? And I go, I don't know. Something just told me to give this to you. And he goes, Jay, this of all days. I'm like, what day is it? He goes, Jay, this is the day my dad died. And he goes, and Journey was his favorite band.
Oh.
And he goes, I said, just keep it. It's yours. I've had it since I was 10. I remember going into Music Mart down in Long Beach. Costa Mesa. It was in Costa Mesa. Sorry, and getting that album when I was 10 years old because I love Steve Perry. But like I always say, it doesn't always have to be art. It might be something like that happens. I have another instance when I was also in New Jersey, and I saw a gentleman with a Marine sticker on his window. And I got out of my car and I said, sir, thank you for your service. He goes, oh, son, it was a long time ago. And I started feeling the tinge. And I was like, I said, oh, my dad was an Army Ranger. I said, thank you again for your service. And we start moving towards each other, and it's getting more intense because it builds. And he was like, oh, that was a long time ago. And I said, is it a special day today? And he goes, no, birthday was not too long ago, and anniversary was last week. No, okay. And I can feel it welling. And I'm like, sir, are you sure? And all of a sudden I broke into tears because it gets really intense. And he came over and he hugs me. and I'll hug him back. And I'm like, sir, what day is it today? And he froze. He goes, there's no way you could know this. And I go, what day is it, sir? And he goes, it's the day my daughter died. I go, the hug's from her. And all of a sudden, waterworks are off. I said, I'm fine. He said, that's it. Just had to give you that message. That's all. But for me now, it doesn't do it on a daily. But when it's like that, I know what it is.
But it's a feeling that comes over
Yeah,
you.
it's basically like I'll be fine, and all of a sudden it feels like, like when you feel like you have to cry and you start welling up. That's what happens. I just know. It's just that, and I know it's going to be something that has to do with either unfinished business or whatever it is, and then that's again a portrait, or just to maybe I have something in my life that I have had the experience that I know that this message has to be delivered. So it's just kind of something like that.
Don't you feel special?
No, I'm just a normal guy.
Yeah, but you have a special talent there, an ability.
I feel special when I make people happy. That's my thing. I just love to see people light up and be able to have that joy, especially in like today's times. It can be kind of doom and gloom.
Oh, yeah.
And, I look at it and say, if I can bring just a little bit of happiness to every person I encounter, I mean, I do that on a daily when I go to work, and, people write in, they're like, oh, he was so nice and he was so this and he was so that. And I'm just, and it's not just doing your job, it's taking you to your job.
Yes.
Because a lot of people just go about their business in life and they don't look past their nose, so to speak. And they say, oh, I'm just doing my job. It's like, are you doing you at your job? And if,
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you doing you at your job?
Exactly. Are you bringing, like I was always told by my mentor in restauranting, his name was Armando Casimassima. I love this man. He was like my second dad. And he was from Naples, Italy. This is a good story, actually. And Armando had lost his wife. And I went to go work there. And I was kind of I don't want to say I was a punk kid, but I was kind of, always flippant and kind of comical, kind of like a Robin Williams. So when I walked in there, I was like, hey, Papa, how you doing? He goes, don't you call me Papa. And, he and I kind of, he liked me, but, we hadn't bonded yet. And there was a guy that worked there. His name was James. And he was the assistant manager. And Mondo was another cook there. And this guy would hold my food, and turned out he was an alcoholic. He was full of pain. And, I told him one time, he just started getting in my face, and, being from Montana and, you're from Texas, we'd go outside with you. So I was like, you want to go outside? I'll take you outside. He goes, I'll meet you out there. And Armando overhears this, and he pulls me to the side and he goes, Jason, your life's going to change, but not the way you think. He goes, you are over 18. He goes, if you go out there, your life is going to be behind bars. He goes, stay in here, make bread with me, make the sauces with me, and you can call me Papa. So then after that, I loved him. But he gave me the right perspective.
Yeah. Sometimes we need that kind of influence in our life.
Oh yeah. No, he was amazing. He had 4 kids. He had Dino, Sergio, Anna, and Alisa. Well, Dino wanted to race cars, so we had a Porsche, and he'd take it to the tracks. Sergio was a shaper of surfboards in Redondo Beach, and then his 2 daughters were housewives. And when he came across me, he was like, you I can train. But I'm going to tell you right now, I told you brown the garlic. You burn the garlic. She don't like you anymore. So needless to say, I did learn how to cook from him. And in fact, I made my girlfriend dinner last night with one of his recipes. And she was like, where did you learn to cook like this? I said, from a very good friend of mine.
So you're an interesting man. You sing, you give gifts, you're an artist, you cook.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Now, tell us about the martial arts.
Okay, so when growing up in Montana, I was not the most popular kid because I was goofy, So I was I was the kid that they would meet you at the gate, 10 kids, and they'd kick your teeth in for you. In fact, I've got a dark tooth from one of those. And so what happened is that, I grew up and I had to learn to let the anger go. And I actually had one of my friend's mom kind of took me under her wing, And she said, she started taking me to church, and, Jewish kid going to church. It's perfect. It's like, so what happened though is that she did teach me to turn the other cheek. So when I was younger, I was always fascinated by Bruce Lee. And I initially, when I went down to California, was training in Wing Chun. And I, remember training under Master Hawkins Chung, who was actually in Bruce Lee's class under Yip Man, who was like the Grand Master of Wing Chun in China, and I'm sorry, in Hong Kong. And I really liked it. But then I got promoted to go and run this restaurant in Manhattan Beach, so it was too far to go to where his studio was. And I started into Kyokushin. And little did I know, walking in the door, that it was the toughest of the martial arts as far as karate goes. I mean, when you say Kyokushin, they're like, oh, Kyokushin. And I stuck with it, and I started doing it 6 days a week for 6 years. And I remember my mom, she's sitting over there. She came in to watch a test of mine. She's like, "Are you insane? You're literally getting the stuffing kicked out of you." I said, "It's building me stronger, Mom." And I eventually got my black belt after that. And I decided that I wanted to teach kids to empower them so that they didn't have to ever face what I went through. And a lot of the kids that I had taught have taken my teachings, because then I started with a gentleman by the name of Patrick Fard, but then I wound up going to who's my sensei still to this day, which is Armando Capa. And he taught me much more than martial arts, but he also taught me how to do my finances, how to buy a house. Basically, the stuff that your parents teach you, I kind of missed out on that. So he then became my true sensei as far as teaching me how to do everything. And we opened up a dojo together. I had the dojo for about 8 years. And to this day, I still am in contact with those kids that have now gone on to college.
So for the sake of the audience and me,
sure.
What is a dojo?
Oh, dojo, karate school.
Okay.
So basically, this is a good story. I was looking to put the karate school somewhere, and I came across a dance school. And I remember asking the owner, I said, why don't you let me teach? He goes, well, why don't you bring in, 10 kids that you are teaching? I said, I'll make it even better. Why don't you bring me 10 kids and I'll teach them right in front of you? And that's exactly what happened. She brought me 10 kids. And in fact, one of her daughters, who I still am friends with today, who also went on to be getting her black belt, went on to becoming a nurse, is married happily. And, to this day, still keep in contact. In fact, she just came with her husband to visit not too long ago. And it's just like, you changed my life, Sensei, or else had she not met me, she wouldn't be married to who she's married to, because he was one of my peers at my sensei's karate school.
Amazing.
So it's kind of like a full circle. And then I have one Jocelyn Tamayo's gone on to finish business school. And also I believe she's now going into law. And then also I used to train my first wife's little brothers in it. And each of them respectively have gone on to do other things. Minor owns his own business. He does gates, mechanical gates. Willie's I believe he's a sergeant now in the Army. And then Kevin is now going into politics. He just finished law school. So
martial arts is more than physical, though. It's very mental.
Oh,
isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, it gives me the off switch. So how do I say it? Like as a kid, we used to say too much sugar, they're hyperactive. And then we started calling it ADHD. So yeah, I do have something very much like that. So what happens is that it gives me the ability to control myself. And because before when I was younger, I'd be like Robin Williams 24/7. Now I'm only Robin Williams for about an hour.
Well, that's good.
People can handle an hour.
Yes. I just wonder about all these kids that do have ADHD today. They're so hyperactive and things. I think if they had more activities like that, if they were put into some kind of a class where they learn mental discipline as well as physical discipline,
Absolutely.
I think would make a big difference for them.
I think, Judy, what happens too is you have to have the right teacher and the right mindset of that teacher. Like a good example, like I went with Patrick Fard first, who was very regimented by the book. This is how it is. Whereas Armando Capa instantly geared in that I was very different as far as my approach to learning. And then he actually changed his curriculum for me to be able to be to excel. And he told me when I did my black belt test, I was the first person to basically climb the mountain in 10 years. And it was, I did everything he asked me to and much more. And he said, there is no other person that is deserving of this. And I remember Laura was the daughter I was telling you about. She came to watch the test, and the test was sprung on me. And I couldn't understand it that day when I saw all my peers are there. I'm like, what are they all doing? They're never all here. And he surprised me, wanted to double check, make sure when he asked me, are you running 5 miles? Are you? And are you doing everything? And it was literally the hardest thing I ever had to do. I came out of it purple. But I remember hearing as I was fighting, I had to do it. So normally for a Kyokushin black belt, it's 10 fights, 3 minutes each fight. If you knock somebody out, because it's full contact, there's no pads.
Yeah.
Then you are awarded your black belt at the end of it. Well, Sensei Kappa didn't want me to be ever questioned, so it was 18 fights for me at the end of all the gruelingness. And the thing is, I hadn't eaten that day because I was taking care of Laura on one of her personal things. She had, she was a teenager, she had dilemmas, and she needed somebody to talk to. And then I picked her up, and we went out to the dojo, and lo and behold, I'm taking my test. So that's when you have to dig deep.
Yeah.
And, like when I was taking the test and I was getting pummeled for a minute, I had to come up with a game plan. And, as much people need a game plan in life. And all my training led to that moment where, okay, Jay, and this is while somebody and I are fighting, I'm thinking this, okay, you have a limited amount of energy and you need to stretch it this far. Well, you can take a beating because all those kids in Shepherd knew how to give that to you. So, your whole life you can take a beating. So why don't you take a beating for the first half and then come back the second half? And that's exactly what I did. And I remember hearing Laura say, why won't he stop? And my ex-wife was there because, she also trained, and she goes, you don't know Jason. He's not leaving here without that belt, especially now that I knew it was my test. And I literally came back the next day to teach my class at my dojo down in Redondo Beach. And I couldn't even sit. I mean, I was purple.
Wow.
And I showed up with the black belt. They're like, you took the test. And I remember I said I did. I went to work that night and I had a short sleeve shirt. I'm purple all the way down. And my boss looks at me and goes, yo, Jay, you get rolled? I was like, no, I took my black belt test last night.
Well, I got to say this, you certainly are interesting.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you.
I mean, it's like the time is gone, and I just feel like there's so much more to you that we need to learn about. And,
if you ever want me to come back, I'll be happy to.
Well, we certainly will. Why don't you tell the audience how they can get in touch with you in case somebody wants to get in touch with you or know more about your art?
Oh, sure. Okay. Jason Pransky. Facebook is JSN and then PRNSKY. So just take the A and the O out of my name. Instagram, same way. If they want to reach out personally, can I give them my phone number?
Sure.
406-894-0698. Just text me. And say, hey, this is whoever this is, and I'd like you to do this. I'm always open if somebody's had loss or they're going through a hard time and they need something to make them happy. I'm always happy to do something.
Wonderful.
And if you want to come and have a great dinner and I'll make you laugh and sing with you, come down to Ocean Prime Las Vegas. It's on the corner of Harmon and Las Vegas South, and just ask for Jason. There's only one up there.
That's wonderful. I got to try that. I haven't been to that restaurant.
Oh my gosh, you'll love it.
I've heard great things about it.
We're the number one seafood and number one steak restaurant right now in Las Vegas.
Wow. Well, that's going to be the best.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be part of that opening crew, to be able to say I was there,
Yeah.
And my crew is amazing. I mean, everyone there will take good care of you.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you, Judy. It was a pleasure.
It's been great. And thank you for being with us today. And we hope you'll come back real soon. And I'm going to have Jason's mother on my show very soon because she is a well-known author and you'll look forward to meeting her as well. So join us again very soon.